a fool with a tool is still a fool.
For every euro that you spend on AI, I think you should spend 6 on the data infrastructure.
If you don't feed them with enough validated information, I think it becomes harder.
Deployed 60,000 agents across their 40,000 employees. How many agents are you planning to deploy this year?
Context is key, as always.
One thing every data team should do before deploying a single agent?
Think.
So Daan, we're here today. I'm really excited to have you on the podcast. We know each other for quite some time already. We have been doing Oracle stuff in the past, but now we're in conference season. The biggest companies that we work with have their conferences this month. So super exciting to discuss that with you. You went to a lot of those conferences. So what is the thing that excites you the most this time?
Yeah. So each year, for me, it's challenging what's coming up. And it's in the previous years, it was all about simplicity and ease of use. And I'm always wondering if they can keep that same idea from the past in today's developments, because there's happening a lot. It's very difficult to keep up. So I'm very interested that it is not only about AI, but that they also think about how can we implement it and how can we make it as easy as it has been. Easy as that, I never had achieved that before.
Yeah, nice. So these days, everything is about context, about agentic. Why did it change, in your opinion? Like, did the product got caught up?
Yeah, they still stand.
Yeah, some people were kind of expecting this with the new CEO, Sridhar. I will not pronounce his name fully, but with the new CEO, they expected him to double down on AI, on new capabilities. Do you think Snowflake delivered on that now?
Yeah, I think they did. Yeah, because still it's so everybody is talking AI, and I know one of the keynotes when Frank Slootman was still the CEO. He said, if I was paid for the amount of times I say AI, But I think they did deliver on it, because a lot of things within Snowflake, they are based on AI, also in the background. So the way they develop and improve Snowflake is also based on AI. Mm-hmm. But also for a user or a developer, it's also very easy to use AI.
When did you hear them first speak about semantics and context?
I think it was last year for the first time that I really heard them talk about it.
Yeah, with the open semantic interchange, with that launch.
No, I think it was before with the semantic views. So that was more the YAML file based stuff. I think that was the first time. But the developments it's going so fast.
Yeah, interesting. In my view, like all these announcements made at the conference are heavily related to semantics, to context. So it's becoming quite important now, right?
Yeah, I think it's even more important, because so we can discuss about what is a customer, or we can discuss about what is revenue, and then we can say to each other. So if it's a customer, then we say the customer is someone we sell something to. But for instance, for the marketing department, a customer can be anyone, even before we send them an invoice, or before we sell them something. And if you don't give the context, if you just leave it open, and you let an agent decide, is this for another organization? Yeah, it's better to use option B, or maybe a combination.
So Snowflake's pitch now is that the semantics live inside of the governance engine, and that they will execute it on query time. Do you think that holds in practice? I think you have a lot of implementation experience. Do you think that holds in practice, or do you think that it's just the theater for the keynote?
No, I think it holds, but everything. Yeah, let's say a fool with a tool is still a fool. It's the way people implement things. So the good thing about Snowflake is the huge amount of possibilities. But still, you have to think very carefully how you implement things, because otherwise it can be messy very fast. So you have to think things through, And if you have a real good plan,
we have been building for years already.
I think it's a little bit different because it gives more context. So the integration layer, like we did in the past, it was just in the database, and it was, you have the tables and joins, and that combination. That is, it is what it is. But what you want right now is the real context. So what do these things mean? So,
but it still translates down to the joins that we have been doing for years in database.
Exactly. I think it gives more context, and it used to be a lot of times you build the semantic layer in a tool. So you did it in Power BI, for instance, and you did it again.
I would say Looker or Omni.
Yeah, Looker, Omni. Back in the days, Oracle Discoverer. It was all you built it inside, but you did it again and again and again. And what you do right now, you bring it back to the database. So all things, and I think that's a good thing about a Snowflake. So you leave the data where it is, and you bring all the intelligence to the data instead of bringing all the data to the separate tools.
Should it be in the warehouse, or are we creating a new lock-in there for ourselves?
No, not necessarily. So if you build everything you build, you have to think about a certain exit strategy. So if you want out, that you can go out. And with the open standards these days, it's relatively easy. So I think you have to think about that. And then, of course, with every tool, when they say there is no lock-in, of course there is always amount of lock-in. And I don't think that's a problem, because that way you can make optimal use of what the tool provides you. But you always have to think about, being able to move out or open standards or whatever. Yeah, then I would advise something differently.
Okay, we're mainly working in the EU, specifically in the Benelux region. That makes sense for enterprises in the Benelux to really bet on one semantic layer with a vendor. Or do you think there's more value in more open standards, more local, more EU-based solutions maybe? Sovereignty is maybe the right word.
Yeah, but sovereignty is also a discussion about what do you want? Where do you want your data to live? And is it really important for you? So if there is no importance where the data lives, then just go, for instance, for Snowflake, because it's easy to use, it's no problem. But if your data needs to be in whatever country in the EU, then you have to think about it. Okay, what are the possibilities? Do I want to be in country A or B or C? And with the current geopolitical situation, you might think, okay, all the data should live in the EU. But also in the EU, we have regulations. And what the US is doing, we are doing the similar things in the EU. And maybe even worse. Because in the Netherlands, we have something called a sleepwet. Yeah, is it better or worse than what they are doing in the US? So you really have to think about it. And if you go back to sovereignty, then it's also not necessarily that you have to go to open source, because open source also has its challenges. So it's no problem to buy a US-based tool, for instance, for a BI or a database or whatever. But you have to think about, if my data lives in a certain country, is that legislation there? Is that the legislation I want to live in? And that's more the discussion you have to have with your organization, with your clients, your customers. So what do you want? And these are a few things. And then if you know that, then you can say, okay, Snowflake is a good one, or we need open source, or we need
big EU-based customers that you're offering for specific customers. Yeah. Can you tell us a bit more about that solution, maybe?
Yeah, so what we heard from our customers, that they needed a local solution that they could control, and that they know, okay, my data is here, and I also can move out if necessary. So with my company, Bravinci, we built something called Dividos, and it's a best of breed combination of different tools. So we picked Yellowfin as the front end. We picked Exasol for the database. We currently choose a Stackable for the data integration. We have Keycloak for the whole authorization part. And we work together with several local data centers. So not only in Europe, but also in the Caribbean. And it's just to give organization freedom of choice. And they can start small and they can scale as they want. So it depends also on the technology providers, if they can come along with what we want, because we can start with really small customers and grow them. And we can also install them on the same hardware. And
cool, thanks for sharing. Back to the summit, maybe. One of the assumptions, one of the things that I operate on is that for every euro that you spend on AI, I think you should spend 6 on the data infrastructure, on the data layer. Do you think after the announcements of this summit that ratio goes up or down? Specifically because we know that Snowflake's earnings went up because of agentic spend, probably. What are your thoughts on that?
So I need a little bit more the background about why you come with that ratio. But I can imagine why the spend of AI for Snowflake went up that high, because I think a lot of customers just start playing with it and don't have a look at, okay, it's going out of control. And the good thing about what Snowflake does, so you can have budgets, you can have controls, you can really see what you are spending on certain tools, for instance, AI. And I think that FinOps becomes more and more important. And I saw someone posting on LinkedIn, so what he was missing in all these announcements is the carbon footprint. So what are you spending? What is the effect on things? And I think that would be really interesting to also include, that you can really see what's happening. Because now it's, for a lot of people, if you don't think about it, it's just a black box. You say, hey, help me out. And but what's happening in the background?
I think the spend went up because a lot of companies just connected agents to Snowflake, and the agents without context need to read everything. They need to query everything. Yeah. So of course, spend goes up. Snowflake itself, they released their Coco desktop, I believe it's called.
Yep.
You also get the agentic capability to query your warehouse there.
Yep.
But you can already use it without having a full context layer. Potentially spend goes up there. I think the spend will only be manageable if you provide this context, if you work on this context, knowing where to find specific metrics instead of scanning all the tables, knowing how they're constructed, how they're joined. I think that's really important. And I think that's also why I say that there's this ratio of that goes up. I think, do you think if a CDO, for example, says, hey, on Monday we want to make agents run on our data, do you think companies are ready for that?
No. I don't think so. Because it's the same with when ChatGPT came out, people just asking questions and you get something back. And then that was, because Chat said, so a lot of people say, but Chat said it. Yeah, of course. But Chat, there is no context. And that's really important to have a context. So to know where to look for it and to know how the tables are related. And maybe maybe it's the near future or in the far future, it's not necessary anymore. But for now, I don't believe it. And also what I said earlier, still, if you see a customer or if you see revenue, is the revenue I'm talking about, is that the same revenue you are talking about? Because also people, I had a conversation yesterday about, are BI tools still a place for BI tools? And my opinion is, for now, because if we have an agent, if I build an agent and you build an agent, are we getting the same results? Are we asking the same questions? So if we come back and we have the revenue in Amsterdam, and I do the same, and you have 100 and I have 110, who's right? If there is no, and if we don't know whether we asking the same questions.
That is very interesting. Do you think that validation will then take place with the BI tool, in the BI layer, with visualizations, with with tables that we produce there? Or is it potentially in the context layer already that we figure that out?
Yeah, but still, even if we bring the context to it, then still it's very important that we ask the same questions. Let's say that you ask the revenue including taxes, and I ask it without taxes.
Okay, but then the question becomes, what would the BI layer look like, right? Not that it's completely gone, but it will look different. Potentially, it's more conversational, or
yeah, maybe, but also that then it's validated. So if you look at a picture, you know upfront what are we talking about, and if you do it with an agent without any context, yeah, then you're not 100% sure what you are talking about, and then you can have different figures. And with this dashboard, then you at least know, okay, we're talking about the revenue and it's including taxes. Then it's all clear for everybody. And for now, so if people just asking those questions without any context, I'm a little bit worried. Okay, that's the same thing as we had with chat in the beginning, that we just ask questions and we get an answer and we say, okay, that's it.
To actually know if what is being asked, if that is the right thing, the validation point.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think what we've seen up until now is that the speed of development, I think, on the BI end isn't optimal. A lot of times it's kind of a bottleneck. There are business questions, and the data team needs to kind of answer them and provide insights. I kind of tend to agree with you on that. It's still relevant, but at the same time, I also know that people potentially want access to data faster than what we can potentially deliver as a data team.
Yeah, could be, but even then, if they want to have the data faster and go to the data via agents or whatever, then it's even more important to make sure that this data has the right context.
Superhero insights here. Yeah. I have some rapid fire questions for you. It's just a pick, no explanation needed. We can discuss afterwards, but it's interesting to see what you pick here. So for you, Coco or co-work?
Coco.
The most underinvested layer in 2026, the foundation, the semantics, the orchestration, or AI?
Ooh. Come again, the first one was the...
Foundation, semantics, orchestration, or AI?
It's probably the foundation.
One tool that you would rip out every Snowflake environment tomorrow?
I think for me now, OpenFlow.
The most overhyped Snowflake Summit announcement?
Overhyped. That's a good one. Yeah, it's probably Coco Desktop.
The most underrated Snowflake announcement?
Ooh.
Do you think Databricks will announce a counter offer to Horizon Context?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
One thing every data team should do before deploying a single agent?
Think.
Okay, you had this remark that you wanted to make about the semantic layer in the warehouse or standalone. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think it's a good thing if it's as close to the data as possible. But the idea is that you can also use it outside. There's a similar thing, so that is not only for use inside the data warehouse, but that you also can use it with other toolings or technologies. So it's more. So it's better when it's close to the data, but you also want to use it as much as possible. So that's the remark that I have.
Can you think of anything we haven't discussed yet? Something you've seen during the summit? Something we need to discuss?
Now, my answer. So what should data teams do before they start developing agents? And that's more about think, and because I think the tools are so easy to use right now, so everybody is using it, and you really have to think about what am I doing? What do I want to achieve? What do I need for that? And if you have that all clear, and it's good and it's okay, then start building. instead of the other way around. Just throw it at users for them to use, and then nobody knows what happens and what. And especially if you leave the and whether it's 1, 6 or even higher number, it's not 6 but maybe 10. I agree with you.
I think this is a good question to end on then in that regard. If you manage to do this right as a company, if you manage to build out this foundation, what will success look like in the next 3 to 5 years if you do this right?
Yeah, if you do it right, I hope that companies have more time to do other things that are relevant for their organization, especially the easy things, the things that are repetitive. It's a pity that you have to do it manually. So if you can do it with an agent, then it's fine. And it would mean that you have time left to do different things. And I hope that organizations come to that. So if they have the foundation is there, agents are doing their thing, there is time for doing other things, maybe innovation, maybe spend more time with the customers, listening to their customers. I think that would be the biggest win, hopefully.
Interesting. Thanks for